I cleaned the block was I stripped it completely down and I brought it to my Varsol tub, washed it with Varsol, and I scrubbed it really good with a brass brush. And then I went in like all the openings down here with a wire brush, and just got all the carbon and caked on oil. The crankshaft, I started with a plastic brush and the Varsol, got all the loose stuff off it, and then all around here, it was all caked on oil and wouldn't come off. So I just lightly took some Scotch-Brite, and look how nice it came out. And then what I did for the counterweight was, well, I didn't want to get anything on the crank pin. I didn't want to nick it. So what I did was I grabbed like a piece of shrink tube. I kind of just put it on here, heated it till it shrunk on, and then I zip tied it into place. So if I accidentally hit the crank pin, nothing would happen. So I did that with the counterweight and everything that was rusty up here. And then I grabbed a wire brush and went into this little passage here, and it just came out awesome. The piston, I grabbed a paper towel with some carburetor cleaner, and I just scrubbed the heck out of it, and everything came off. And then I got down here with a brush with some carburetor cleaner, as well as I just soaked it, and that got all the loose stuff off at least. The sleeve, it just had some carbon stuff. Usually I just leave it, but I'm showing this engine some love. I just want to just clean it up really, really good. So you don't want to polish your sleeve. I've seen a bunch of people polishing the sleeves. You don't really want to do that. I just kind of hit it with some Scotch-Brite until all the carbon comes off, or it just allows it to slide in and out of the block easier. Because if you saw it earlier, it was a little difficult to get the sleeve out. So then I went into the little ports here with a little brush. This is actually a carburetor jet cleaning kit, but I used this little brush, and I just got in every single little port and just scrubbed everything out with a little bit of carburetor cleaner. This brush works perfect for that. And you guys can see the results came out really good. Especially the exhaust ports, there's even still a little bit of rust there, but all the loose stuff of it, and most importantly, the majority came off. The head, I just grabbed a Scotch-Brite pad with some Varsol, and it came up like that. The carburetor, I stripped it completely down. I soaked everything with Simple Green and water, blew it out really good, let it sit for like a day, blew it again. Then I hit everything with brake clean, blew it off, let it sit for a little bit, and then I assembled it with afterburn oil. And I used a little bit of grease on the O-rings. The one-way bearing, I just used a Scotch-Brite pad, and then I blew it off, hit it with some brake clean, blew it off again, and you are left with this. Back plate, I just scrubbed it with some brake clean. The head, I just left it in some warm soapy water and I just scrubbed it a little bit. The screws, I just kind of grabbed a paper towel, sprayed it with some brake clean, and just wiped all the threads clean, as well as the slot where the screwdriver goes. Alright, let's start assembling this thing. I already oiled the bearings earlier, but I'm just going to put a couple more drops. Doesn't hurt, just makes it a little harder to start, but no big deal. This engine always starts up very easy. Just assembling this with afterone oil. Just the regular great plain stuff. You notice I put some oil on the counterweight, not because it needs lubrication, but because I just don't want it rusting up. Not that it would, because we have all the moisture and old fuel out of it. Spins over awesome. Just gonna move this around. Gonna oil this oiling hole, as well as the rod itself, and then a little along the piston. Just gonna work that in. There we go. Just putting some oil on the outside of the sleeve so it slides into the block easier. Oh yeah, the pin's on the front of the engine on this one. I was thinking for a second, where's the pin? Oh yeah, look how nice and easy this just slides in. Bam. Just gonna put a little oil on the face of this right here. Put that in there. I just got a little bit of this synthetic grease. I'm just gonna put a little bit on the O-ring. Just a little. Now if you notice, there's two slots. I'm going to try to line this one up to the crank pin because I can see the wear mark right here. That's where it was riding before, so that's how we're going to have it. So I'm going to identify the top. There's the top because it's got the little cutout. Going to line up the wear mark right there. At the very end of this shaft, I'm just going to add a little bit of grease. Just helps lubricate the metal hole right there, as well as there's an O-ring there. Plus it provides a better seal. Just gonna spin this. There we go. Finds its home. Line that up. Just gonna put a little bit of oil on my screws. Some of you are probably going to go, no, don't put oil in your screws. Well, I do it because if your engine is torqued to spec, your screws shouldn't back out. And these are steel screws. From my experience, steel screws like to seize into aluminum. So I've noticed on real engines, you end up thanking yourself you put some oil on your screws. Same rule as before. We're tightening these with our fingertips. Perfect. I haven't cleaned up the rotor start backplate yet, so we're not going to put that on, but we're going to put the head on. So here's the head. Notice here, there's a little dot. The dot is a little marker to make sure you put your head back in the same place it came off. So for me, it went to the exhaust port. Just going to line up these screws real quick. There we go. There. Now I was going to reuse this plug, but I thought, might as well treat her to a new plug. And this is a different style plug, from what I understand. Novarossi discontinued the, I think this is a C6 TG. I have here a brand new CT06 that we're going to try out. Brand new. Just to make it easier, I'll just put this plug in now. Remind me that that's loose. Hold on. Find your home. There we go. Now we're just going to go over these real quick. There. Head's all tightened down. Now let's put the carburetor on. I'm not sure which way I'm going to put my carburetor on.